Hi, Ricky here with Freedom Plumbers and Pumpers Septic and Drain, coming to you from Markham, Virginia on a private YouTube video for a septic inspection for a real estate transaction. In this inspection, we inspected multiple items in the septic system, that being the septic tank, the distribution boxes, and the drain fields. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to go ahead and talk about this inspection in that particular order. I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera. So here's a home, and in the front of the home is the septic tank. We have an inlet side and the outlet side. The outlet side had a riser and an access lid. Before we arrived, the inlet side required excavation, and it had a concrete lid sitting on top of the tank. This tank has two PVC baffles, inlet and outlet. The old baffles, which were made out of cast iron, have been broken into and dropped into the bottom of the tank. You'll see those in the images. That is not that unusual, and it doesn't necessarily affect the operation of this septic tank. So yes, those baffles are sitting in the bottom of the tank. The concrete itself was inspected, walls, ground, cover on both sides. On the cover, there are no cracks, breaks, or any kind of root intrusion, except this root came in through the seam of this concrete lid. So when this concrete lid was installed like so, a root made it through this particular seam and then grew a great deal of roots. What that means is that this lid is not watertight to this tank. Unfortunately, that is a common problem with concrete lids on concrete tanks. It is strongly recommended that this inlet side abandons the concept of a concrete lid and installs a brand new plastic riser that is sealed watertight to the tank itself. Aside from that, the cover itself throughout the tank does not show cracks, breaks, or root intrusions. The walls are mostly in good shape, except for the penetration point of this baffle as it exits the tank. This particular baffle, you will see in the images, the concrete around the penetration point is actually starting to hole out, if you want to put it that way. So all it really needs is a reparging. Okay, and when you reparge the inlet side after it's been pumped out, and the outlet side again. And that's how the reparging takes place. The concrete here from the penetration point is looking absolutely beautiful. When it comes to the floor of the septic tank, it's nice and solid. Nothing special to report. No outside intrusion water is coming in. We do have a small plumbing leak coming from the house. As you can see right there, that leak has been slow but steady throughout, what have we been here, 5 hours? We've been here for 5 hours, and that leak gets stronger and slower, but never stops. That is typically a toilet overflow valve, maybe a small faucet, and there is a possibility of any other item. So I would recommend a plumbing inspection just to figure out where this leak is coming from so we can seal it. No more water should be coming into this tank than it was designed for. And that small leak, believe it or not, does accumulate to a great deal of gallons per day, per week, per year. Okay, we also did a camera inspection from this baffle up towards the house, and we have a cast iron sewer that's in good shape, old and rusty as expected, but no defects, no bellies, no flats, no cracks, no breaks, no roots. Looking good. Transitions to PVC right there. This pipe, which is the exit, we call that a conveyance line. We go ahead and head out this way. It turns from PVC to a black pipe called ABS, makes a turn and starts heading towards the first of 3 boxes that are in that field. So the first box is called a splitter box as well as a surge box. The splitter and surge allows you to slow down the effluent as it comes from the septic tank, and then it distributes the flow, or the flow into 2 separate continuous boxes. So here you go. This is called a splitter box. It's relatively small and compared to the other ones. We have a pipe that comes in and 2 pipes with green dials. And what dials are, those are little circular parts that allow us to level out the water to make sure that both pipes take the same amount of water at the same time as the water volume enters into the box. What you're going to notice is that since there's no water running right now, the water line stays at the bottom of each one of those dials. And I'll talk to you about that more later. We did do a 10-minute hydraulic load test on that septic tank, an additional 10-minute hydraulic load test on the drain field. We did that in order to see if it could take the load. It did so beautifully. So this box splits into box number 1, which is a newer distribution box, also with 6 lines, which connect to older drain field lines. This concrete box is beautifully intact, just like the first surge box. No cracks, no breaks, no root intrusion, nothing to be concerned about in these boxes. The connections to the box look good. Again, nothing to be worried about. The only thing that we had a little bit of a hiccup on is that we couldn't send our camera in too far on line 1, line 2, line 3. Okay, we couldn't get past a couple of these turns. Why? Because once you exit this box, you go into the old pipes, and those old pipes are made out of clay. And in that clay, you have sections or unions every single foot, if you want to put it that way, and the 90s are made out of concrete, so it's very difficult to trace them. I was unable to locate their dead end. However, we did the hydraulic load test, and all 3 lines took water without a problem. No water came back, no water backed up, nothing. All 3 lines did good. So furthermore, even though I can't locate those lines and I can't see a visual inspection of it because of how they were put together back in 65 or so, the lines at this time are functioning good. Now, from line 4 to line 6, I did get the camera in there. And what we have is that all of these lines go out. I marked them by flag, and they head into this field right here. Line 3, 4, 5, and 6 stop just before the grape line, if you want to put it that way. The line where all those grape plants start. So they start just before. These lines are short. They're about 45 foot long. There is 6 of them. Okay. All of them are made out of clay. Again, they don't back up. Some minor root intrusion, some filth in there, but nothing to be terribly concerned about. So this box good. All 6 line drains. Can't inspect 3, but everything is looking just fine. If I could add anything to this line in the future, just because you want to be picky, I would just add a little 90 into this box, facing down into the water with a little hole on the top for ventilation. And that would help slow down the speed of the effluent as it's coming from the surge box, so that line 1 and 2 don't take too much of a load, but we've already balanced that out. That's just being picky. It's not a requirement. Going on to box number 2. Now this one has a little bit more of a concern, and I'll tell you why. This appears to be the original box, or the older unit. It does have dials in it as well, and we ran a hydraulic load test as well. All of the lines run great. I was able to camera inspect every single line all the way up to their dead points, and that is on this side of the property. So again, box 1 goes to that side, box 2 goes on to this side, and these are much longer lines. You have line 6, 7, 8, 9, there's actually 12 here. 10, 11, 12. So you'll see the flags that have dead ends right there, which they may or may not be here when you get here. But again, all of these lines are made out of clay. Nothing special to report on these lines except on this one. This line, which is line number 10, has a little bit of a collapse or root intrusion here where the camera is unable to get through, but the liquid is. And again, I was able to locate the end of that line. And with the hydraulic load test, I was unable to see anything special. When it comes to this particular box, I do have a concern. So if you remember on the original box back there, we discussed the water line, and that water line stopping just at the bottom of the dial. Sorry, hit that camera. On this particular box, when we stop running the water does not stop at the bottom of the dial. It actually continues draining out. What that tells you is that the bottom of this box is actually breached. So furthermore, this box is not doing well. This box is actually in need of replacement. The concrete is brittle. The bottom of the box is very brittle. I believe the box is completely bottomless, and it is now draining fluid into the ground. So this box needs to be replaced in order to allow for this drain field to be used properly. It does just fine. It's just when you stop, effluent exits the box, and that should not happen. Box should be watertight. Okay, so again, recommendations here. Major recommendations that are requirements for this inspection to pass is distribution box replacement. I'm going to walk you back to the septic tank because there's 2 items on the septic tank that need to be taken care of. Thank you for your patience. This is a bigger field. riser replacement. I'll just show you why. This riser does not seal. It has brakes all over it. These bolts do not seal onto the riser. That's dangerous. We have to have a new riser. And on this side, in order to stop the roots from coming in, either replace the septic tank lid, which again, I'm telling you, they don't have the best of seal, or install a second riser right here, which seals better against the septic tank. So those are the 3 items of concern. Riser 1, riser 2, distribution box replacement. Everything else, even though it's old, it's running very well. And we flip the camera to here. Again, this is Ricky Salinas with Freedom Plumbers and Pumpers. Oh, let me stop right here real quick. This property has a second septic tank or septic system that is on another building that is behind this structure, a newer building. As per the homeowner, the septic system is less than 5 years old. Furthermore, I walked the system, I walked the basic items. They look like they have all the basic code upgrades required, so that seems to look good. If you would like me to have that inspected, I can inspect it. It's going to be a completely separate charge. As you can see, these inspections are very entailed. This has been so far 5 or 6 hours that we've been here. So that's where we're at. Oh, one last item of recommendation is not a requirement, but a recommendation for you, new home buyer, is that this part of the septic tank, which is considered the outlet, needs to have a filter. That filter is something that gets cleaned out on a yearly basis, and it really protects the everlasting life of this drain field. Got to remember that this drain field was built in '65. It was designed for 20 years. We are way past the lifespan of that drain field. So furthermore, we as a homeowner and operator need to figure out how to get that thing to last the longest. And that filter makes a huge difference in the long-lasting life of that field. So anyways, now we're going to say goodbye. Again, this is Ricky Salinas with Freedom Plumbers and Pumpers, Septic and Drain. My phone number is 703-895-4109 with an email address of ricky@freedomplumbers.com and a website of www.freedomplumbers.com. That's all we have for today, coming to you from Markham, Virginia. We'll see you on the next time. Thank you.